You know, you're scrolling online and you see it all the time. Some simple health tip. Eat a handful of almonds every day, it's great for your cholesterol. It sounds so easy, so helpful. But is it actually true? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of these tips, and what we find is a real battle between solid science and some very clever spin.
It always starts with something that sounds so real, so familiar, right? A personal story. It's exactly the kind of thing you'd see in the comments section of a health article. But this particular comment, well, it has a secret.
So is it really that simple? Or is this little comment a doorway into something much, much bigger? We're going to follow the evidence, and trust me, the journey is going to take us to a place you would never expect.
Okay, first things first. Let's put the comments aside for a minute and look at the actual science. What happens when researchers take nuts and put them to the test in a proper, controlled environment?
So to really get what these studies are showing us, we need to know one key term: endothelial function. Now, it sounds super technical, I know, but it's actually pretty simple. It's just a measure of how flexible and relaxed your blood vessels are. The more flexible they are, the better your blood flows and the healthier your heart is. It's a really important indicator.
And here is that science in action. This is from a study at West Virginia University. They measured that endothelial function before and after people ate a meal with walnuts. Now, each line on this graph is a single person. And look what happens. Do you see how almost every single line just jumps up? That's a huge, measurable improvement in blood vessel health. Pretty cool, right?
Okay, so what about the almonds from our original comment? Well, the same study put them head-to-head with walnuts. Check out this table. Both nuts did a fantastic job at reducing something called SVCM, which is a marker for inflammation. So that's a definite win for both. But when it came to that key flexibility measure, the FMD we just talked about, the results were a little different. Walnuts showed a statistically significant improvement. Almonds, on the other hand, only tended to improve. The takeaway here? Both are definitely good for you. But in this specific study, walnuts had a clear edge on that key metric.
And hey, what about cashews? A big review of multiple studies found they have their own special talents. They were shown to significantly lower triglycerides, that's a type of fat in your blood, and they also helped reduce blood pressure. But what's really interesting is that in these studies, they didn't really move the needle on cholesterol. It's a great reminder that not all nuts are created equal. They work in different ways.
All right, so the science seems pretty straightforward, right? Different nuts have different, but mostly positive, effects on our health. Case closed? Well, not so fast. Because this story isn't just about nutrition. It's about a battle for your brain, and we're about to step right onto the battlefield, the comment section.
Yeah, let's circle all the way back to where we started, with that innocent-looking comment about almonds and Dad's cholesterol.
Because as it turns out, that comment wasn't posted by a real person sharing a helpful tip. It was hiding something much bigger.
And there it is, the twist. That comment was a complete fabrication. It was created by researchers for a paper on how to spot fake news and malicious comments online. Its entire purpose was to look and feel real, to study exactly how our perceptions get manipulated.
What these researchers did was identify 3 main ways that bad actors try to mislead us in comment sections. They call them perception, cognition, and societal attacks. And each one is designed to target a different part of how you process information. Let's look at an example of each.
First up is the perception attack. Take a close look here. See the typo, great instead of great, and the little filler word, and that vague mention of 2023? Those are not accidents. They are calculated flaws designed to make a fake, computer-generated comment seem more human, more relatable, more trustworthy.
Next is the cognition attack. This one goes after your sense of logic. It sets up a flawed argument, like people who eat nuts gain weight, so nuts can't be heart healthy. And then it backs it up with a totally made-up statistic. That 90% of obese individuals number, it sounds official, but it's pulled out of thin air just to make you doubt the real science. And finally, you've got the societal attack. This one is all about emotion. It uses scary, all-caps words, it pushes conspiracy theories about nut companies, and it hits you with these wild, exaggerated claims, a 500% cancer risk, all to bypass your rational brain and trigger a panic response. Okay, so we've seen promising results from individual studies, and we've seen how easily that science can be twisted online. This is the moment where we need to zoom all the way out and look for the most powerful, most reliable evidence there is.
Which, of course, brings us right back to the big question.
With all this stuff swirling around, from solid studies to malicious fakes, how on earth do we get a clear answer? Well, you do it by climbing the ladder to the highest level of evidence you can find. And that brings us to this number, 33. That's how many different publications, covering dozens of studies and huge numbers of people, were all pulled together in one massive review, a meta-analysis. This isn't just one study's opinion. This is a summary of decades of research.
So what did this gigantic analysis find? The results are, honestly, striking. Just look at this chart. Compared to people who ate the fewest nuts, those who ate the most had almost a 20% lower risk of heart disease. They had a 26% lower risk of dying from cardiovascular disease and a 23% lower risk of dying from any cause during the study periods. See? When you zoom out and look at all the data together, the noise just fades away, and a really clear, powerful pattern emerges.
So what is the big takeaway from all of this? It's not just about nuts. It's about how we think. This whole journey gives us a simple toolkit for navigating the wild world of health information.
Think of it like a hierarchy or a pyramid. At the very top, you've got the big picture consensus from huge meta-analyses. That's your most reliable guide. One level down, you have those individual studies, like the one on walnuts and almonds. They're super important, they give us clues and build a foundation. And at the very bottom, that's where you find anecdotes and comments. They're not evidence, but they can be a great starting point to ask a question that sends you looking up the hierarchy for a real answer.
So, a simple comment about almonds led us all the way here, to a powerful toolkit for thinking critically. You now have a framework to help tell the difference between real science and clever spin. So the only question left is, what piece of common knowledge are you going to investigate next?